Welcome to Solutions Rising. I'm Rachel Branch, and I cannot tell you how pleased I am to welcome my friend, Mr. Michael D. Wilbur. Mike Wilbur has had an admirable background fighting for workers' rights, union rights, and for trying to save our North Adams Regional Hospital. My program with Mr. Wilbur is for our audience to be able to listen to his recollections about the hospital closing on March 28th, 2014. His life's work is to be honored, revered, and highlighted for his years of accomplishments, protests, and fights for everyday people and workers. Mike, you have no idea how happy I am to have you here. So I would really like it if you would tell our audience about your background, anything that you want to share. You know, this is your show.
Well, in Colorado, we got involved with a company. It was pretty good, you know, but then at the end, the pay raises didn't come every month the way they used to, and the people got tired of it. So we formed a union. It was tough because you got to get 33% of the people to sign union cards if you're going to really advocate for the unions. And in Colorado, it's the right to work state. So it makes it really rough, you know, if you want to work somewhere, and if you're already working in a company and the union does get in, you don't have to pay union dues or anything else.
When you say right to work, does that mean that they can let you go at any time they want to?
No, it just means that, and what it meant by that is that if you're forming a union and you have some people who are anti-union, that they still have the right to work. Now,
they can work without joining the union?
Right, and what they could do is put their dues into some other area. They still pay their dues, but not to the union. It won't be used for the union's benefit.
In Colorado, where in Colorado?
Colorado Springs.
You and I share Colorado. I was there about 8 years in the 70s. Yeah. It's amazing we didn't cross paths, but they were different times. Yeah. So was this your first working with unions?
Well, it's not my first working with unions. It's the first very actively trying to organize a union and talking to the different states. Because we had a district at that time, the Amalgamated Coal and Textile Worker Union consists of 5 states. Texas, Montana, obviously Colorado, Texas, Montana, Wyoming, and there's 5 different states in here in the same area. So if you want to be representative of them, sometimes the central location to meet with everybody was in Denver. Denver's about 70 miles away. So whenever you want to have a meeting of the district joint boards for all the different unions in the area, you had to drive to Denver to do it.
Is this where you first ran up against people who were fighting back at you or pushing back at you?
Oh, yeah.
And this is the foundation of your union.
But at least they did it the right way, you know. They came after me. I was working in quality control. And in order to get me, there was only 10 of us. I had the next to the most seniority, so they had to lay off almost a whole quality control unit. But they did it. Then they put me in the place where the Jeep tops got fitted, and then he wanted me to inspect the Jeep top as I'm doing it. I said, no, that's the job I was doing was in quality control. I said, I can't be doing that now. I said, now the job is putting them on and getting them off. So, you know, I got kind of irritated by that, but they couldn't do anything.
What were you said Jeep, what were you?
Jeep tops. There was a place called White Wickle Automotive. They had a contract with American Motors to make the Jeep tops for the Jeeps and Canvas. Yeah. All the Canvas Jeep tops on Jeep, we made it one time. And you know, but at least they fought up front. They didn't sneak around the bushes, you know.
So this solidified your foundation in Colorado for your upcoming path for union fight.
I was the first president of the Rocky Mountain District Joint Board.
Oh my goodness.
That means it had to be voted in by 5 different states.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. And I went down and gave speeches because in some of the places it was tough to organize, I'm telling you. Because, you know, Colorado is the right to work state. And if you went to somebody's house and knocked on the door, the guy, you know, they'd come out of the shotgun and tell you to read the property. They could do that, and they had it done to me too. You got some very anti-union people in the world, you know.
Sure, because it goes across all boundaries when, you know, everyday people have a right to say or have the right to say what is their working conditions ought to be, and that takes control out of the power of the elite and the greedy, which I talk about.
But you deal with it.
And I'm sure what you were doing, I must suspect that it was dangerous at times.
Oh, it was. You know, because like I said, well, one thing about Colorado, at least that company we were dealing with at that one, they were kind of right up front with you, you know. They were going to come out and get you by any legal means that they could. Mm-hmm. When we got involved in North Adams against the Extile Corporation, that was a whole different story. These people are from New York, and these people are not the people you could really talk to.
We're going to come right up to that story. So you left Colorado in what year?
Oh, probably about 1982, I think it was.
Yeah,
somewhere
after I left in...
I was in the Army for a while, and we stayed in Colorado for about 10 years, and then we came back here. So.
Mm-hmm. And so your job, and you have to tell us, Extile? I didn't even know what that was.
Extile, that was a company.
Extile?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was X-TYAL. And they used to be operated out of Union Street, where Hunter's Outdoor Product used to be.
And what do they make?
What they did is they made gas masks, they made sleeping bags, anything for the Army they were contracted out for.
Oh, okay.
You know, they had Army contracts.
So when you started off there, what was your job?
My job was just a regular worker. It was there, I boxed them up and ship them out, you know.
And
we boxed up the sleeping bags or what they were making at the time.
And they were not unionized? Were they unionized?
Oh, they were unionized, but the union was name only. Mm-hmm. You didn't have any representation. They didn't come in there and fight for the workers. They got their money because what happened is this union, I think, when all these companies went bankrupt, I think the union had an open door policy. When they come back in, the union automatically got back in without a vote. Yeah. They're right there to represent you. So, you know, you're fighting the company, you're fighting the union. And, you know, it's amazing what went down. So it never happened that way, but it does.
Well, I think in North Adams it was very hard to get unions even to allow unions in. And we certainly know that from Spread Electric and other companies, you know,
and what happened,
the shoe companies.
The companies come in, go bankrupt, and then, you know, the employee's paycheck bounced. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's another way to get rid of employees. You bankrupt a company, you change the name, and you go in.
And they did it.
Start again under another name.
So we went to Wappingers Falls for the hearing, the bankruptcy hearing, and all that. And we went to, you know, and we went there. They had Burke the Jerk, who was a judge, and they were telling, well, technically, because of the way they did it, he's in violation of the law. And so I said, well, technically, then he ought to be in jail. Yeah. He told me, well, Bruce, you're in contempt of court. And I really don't want to get arrested in, you know, in New York. I was not exactly my friends.
So, were you arrested?
No, we used to kind of keep my mouth shut. No, I said what I wanted till I got my point across. Mm-hmm. And what we did was, he had his case up in Pittsburgh Superior Court. So myself, my wife, and a few other people went up there. Gene Brayman, George Gay, I can't remember the other person. We went up there to protest on the sidewalk at what they were having in court. We were out there for at least, you know, we did interviews with the press and so on, told them what we were hoping for and what we wanted, make sure it didn't get swept beneath the table. And then finally the bailiff comes out and said, by the way, he said, it's illegal to picket a courthouse when the court is in session. He said, Kakira's attorney complained to me about 1 hour ago about your being out here. He said, but I had other things I had to get done first. He said, I want to make sure you're done with all your interviews and the press and so on. I said, yes, we are. He said, well, he said, you can't protest in front of the house.
I thought it was illegal to protest inside the courthouse,
no.
But is it also illegal?
If the court's in session.
If it's illegal outside?
If you have a court case if there's a court case inside going on, yes.
See, I always learn something.
But see, the person was very nice to her, he really was. He wanted to make sure we did all the interviews, got everything that we wanted to say out there because they supported us.
So you became president of the union at Extile?
Yeah, I did.
I will encourage, I'm going to take a little, there's this wonderful book by Maynard Cedar,
Nitty-gritty Berkshires.
Nader wrote a book called The Gritty Berkshires, A People's History from the Hoosick Tunnel to Massamoka.
Oh, yes.
And there are quite a few references to Mike Wilbur and wonderful discussions about
Maynard,
his...
I'm telling you, he was right there with us through
Yes,
it all. From
and-
the very beginning,
He will be doing, we're doing, I think, 3 programs on the closing of the North Adams Hospital. So now you had quite a few years of union organizing and presidencies, and so you are now back in North Adams and watching all the changes that are going on. And so let's lead up to the year 2014
okay?
and the beginnings of the closing, illegal closing, I'm
yes.
going to say, of the North Adams Regional Hospital on March 28th, 2014. I would really like to know your recollections, how you got involved in that, and
Well,
you can go from
I
there.
was up at a friend's house up on Natural Bridge Road, and he got a phone call from somebody saying, and they told him, there's something in the hospital down. He said, what? No notice, come on. You just can't shut the hospital down like that. So the guy said, oh yeah, Mike, they're shutting it down. So I went home, made myself up a sign, and I went up there. The very first thing I did was I put, I was standing on North Adams, the North Adams Hospital's property. And I was out there with my sign and all that. Well, where's my hospital? Disappeared, it seemed.
Is this the day of the closing?
The day of the closing.
March
Yep,
14th,
Yep. And
2014.
oh yeah, so I went out there. I'll admit, I was on the hospital property. Now Paul Hopkins comes out. He says, Mike, because I was doing an interview with a reporter from New York. I think you probably know the same one. Comes down every time there's something going on. So I call him up while I was here. So he was out there, and Paul Hopkins comes up to me and he said, Mike, I'm not kicking you off site, but you got to go across the street. I said, now, Paul, I said, you and me both know that's off site. So I did it. So, I went across, we went across the street, people honked their horn, they were very supportive. So that's,
And I'd have to go back and look, but I know I was up there one of those days.
oh yeah, well,
and
this
the
is
crowds,
the first,
and the
this-
crowds
oh, yeah,
kept
definitely.
building.
You were there because then once we did the first one, then we got organized. Remember that? Then we went up there with a whole lot of people. The next time when they shut it down, we were standing out in front, letting people know we were there. It's still illegal, You're supposed to get so much notice before you close it down, but then again, you got something that is called the Board of Trustees. The people are members of the board. Usually they handpick their people. Because like I said, if you go to most of the boards, they're all run by the people that shoot in ties. The people that put in the board are handpicked. You won't see too many workers on boards. I knew of a woman who was on board, and she was questioning what they were doing. And she got kicked off because she asked too many questions.
And I've known that for years and years. You're put on boards or commissions or whatever, and if you're not a yes person, they can get rid of you. But it doesn't change the information you have that you can use if you care enough about the community.
We did. Oh, we did.
But, they're supposed to, we know there was supposed to be a 90-day notice of the closing of that hospital and the 3-day notice. And the biggest employer in the city of North Adams, to see that just go down was horrifying.
It was.
And
Pitiful.
As I've said, it was a travesty. And we did organize.
Oh, yeah, we did.
We are still organized. In fact, one of the reasons I'm doing these 3 shows is because I tried to get an article in the Berkshire Eagle last year. And we had an article every single year on the closing. And I could not get an article in. And 2 years ago, Adam Shanks did. He came and for the core of us, the steering committee of the North County Cares Coalition. That's the group that came out with Richard DeSade, Maynard Cedar, Elizabeth Manns, me, you, and of course we participated in a lot of April 4th North County Cares Coalition radio shows and TV shows over the years. But we have not stopped and still want our North Adams Regional Hospital reinstated, but it seemed there were a lot of catch-22s on critical care access and all kinds of things to keep that hospital
But it's
from
amazing
opening.
that the hospital ran with all the defects that they had. And then all of a sudden they reopened it now, and you got all these conditions that weren't enforced when the hospital was open.
Yep.
And not only that, people have to remember, this is a major hospital in North Adams. And what we got was 66 hours notice that they were closing. 66 hours. That's unheard of.
Yep.
And the people on the board of trustees, each and every one of them, should never be allowed to ever be on the board again. I mean, it's just ridiculous, but they got away with it.
They did, and the elected officials and the governor and the attorney general, and we fought and still fighting,
we did.
asking all of them to hold somebody accountable, and nobody was held accountable, which is a travesty. Again, I'm going to use that word. It is more than that. And of course, now that we have the COVID-19 pandemic across the country, we are one of the hospitals across the country that has been lost, and 37,000 plus people in northern Berkshire to not have access to a full-service hospital with beds and a wing for psychiatric treatment and for maternity deliveries and for addiction services. It's just horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. And a lot of people got away with it. And I just know that this has happened to a lot of rural hospitals. And of course now the need is so great with what is happening with the pandemic. And all I know is we will just keep speaking up.
Because I tell you, when you look at the hospital, Pittsburgh's got one, Great Barrington's got one, North County, in reality, we don't count. Yet we're the biggest area without a hospital. It's so ridiculous that it was allowed to happen. See, most people, I was hoping that when we did the protest and everything, that the people in North Adams would just stand up, come up to the hospital. But we needed a lot of people. Because I tell you, it affected a whole bunch of people. And yet, the majority of people in North Adams just sat back and took it. And that's what happens. Sometimes you've got to stand up for yourself. Because once you give it up, you're not getting it back without one hell of a fight.
Yep.
And
there's still a core of us that are still fighting, and it is distressing that we cannot get the information we need, because that's what happens when you have power structures and they won't let everyday people become involved.
That's what I said.
And I think about that meeting when the Attorney General came and met with city officials and we didn't know anything about it, and spent 15 minutes with us secretly. I mean, that's just deplorable.
And yet we talked to her on the Mohawk Trail when she was running for office, and she was going to come down and speak to the people in North Adams and make sure we all had access to her. Well, that never happened.
You wrote quite a letter on that, didn't you?
Oh, yes. Cause
and of course we all did.
She did not do what she told us she was going to do. She wanted our votes. She was going to come down and talk to the people. Not use the suit and tie. Okay? Made that very clear with her. Come down and talk to the very people who are going to put you in office. Oh, I'll be there and I'll talk to them. She came down, talked to the suit and tie people, and said bye.
Yep. And got elected. I don't know if that's the first time or whatever, but and we are still fighting to get access to records, even though all of us know. And of course, the other one was David Phelps, the head of BHS and BMC. We could never get access to him. Couldn't even get him on the phone. Couldn't meet with him. Just blocked us completely and stonewalled us in every other term. And this is just incredible that entity, and part of the problem with the North Adams Hospital was they were outside investing in. And
they had a lot of places in Williamstown. They saw be high-income housing. And on Sweetbrook, and buy the properties. It'll be a good investment. You invest in the people buying it, high expensive item.
And then you blame it on.
Then we pay for it, because what did they do? They put the hospital in there with a bill. Come on.
Well, I didn't know there were other legal entities that had resources. you don't go out investing when you have a hospital and then blame it on Medicare and
yeah.
Medicaid
It wasn't it.
reimbursement problems.
What happened is you made investments using the hospital as collateral, and we had to
collateral.
pay for it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It should never happen. But like I said, that's what happened, because when you have a board made up of all the student tie element and hand-picked people, every board should have one worker on it, voted in by the people who work in the place, workers, actual workers, not the student tie, not the foremen and all this other items. Because I tell you something, if you would have one worker on that board, you would have one worker who had a backbone to say, no, we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
And usually if they're on a board, before they move, they want it to be 100%, because they don't want to have one person saying, well, no, I told them I was against this. So when you get picked for a board, you got to be a nodder.
It's amazing.
You got to
that
nod your head every time the man speaks.
all
Okay.
of those people were protected. And, the governor at the time, having been told several days before there was a way,
Oh yeah,
there
$1
was
million,
money to
$1
do
million
this, and you
sitting there.
wind up giving
Yeah.
Mass MoCA $25 million, and we can't save our hospital?
Yep.
And they're silent.
It's just
And-
kind,
and so they're all silent. And there was a huge community outpouring,
Oh, yeah.
and it still wasn't enough. That is really scary.
because the problem is people in power
Yes, we do that.
know who they have to, bow down to, and they will. Because we had a gentleman one time that came to one of our meetings. We couldn't ask him questions, but then when you talked to him, he was on the board too. Then he said, I'm on numerous boards, and I realized, I said, yeah, you're a nodder. I said, you don't ask questions. All you do is sit on the board, you listen to them, you go, that's it.
And put it on your resume,
I
like
said,
you've done
yeah.
something.
I said, you're a nodder. I said, what good is that if you don't question them? And I know one woman who was on the board, and she did ask questions, she got kicked off. Oh, you're holding up the board meetings. Well, the idea is ask questions. Can't ask questions if you're silent. That's the way it goes. And I don't think it's changed that much yet. Maybe it has, but I have my feeling that it's still handpicked the people.
Yes, and we know that happens in a lot of arenas where, and I said that when I did testimony in front of the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women. You can be on a board, and when they're done with you, they say thank you and get you off. But if they get you off and you care about your community, you stay involved or get more involved. And that's really tragic that the community fought so hard to have it come back. And it's still, we still do not have the care that we need.
No. You're talking about Maynard's book, right?
Yes.
Remember, he also got involved. He also was one of the people who was arrested at Extile for singing.
Oh.
Yeah, you didn't know that. What happened was, it was all set up ahead of time. People going to sing, disrupt the auction. We also agreed the priests were not the enemy, so once you go in, you do it, the priest's going to arrest you. But you go out with a smile on your face. Because the priests are the ones who were set up ahead of time, the police department, they knew what we were going to be doing. And Maynard got arrested for singing.
For singing?
That's right. You asked him about
Oh,
that.
I
So
wonder
it
if
is.
this is it. I haven't finished this whole
And-
book. I love
yep.
this book.
Ask him-
And
ask-
I'm also very happy. Maynard is agreed to be a guest on one of the programs on the hospital closing. Also, Dr. Paul Donovan, who's written a trilogy on the North Adams Hospital, a historical perspective. He is also going to be an upcoming guest. And between the two of them, it is wonderful at least to have these books, so we have at least that reference point.
Well, maybe if you do see Maynard, when you talk to him, ask him if he wants to sing Solidarity. And tell him if he does, he will not be arrested this time.
I must remember, I'm going to make a little note of that. I'm going to make sure that I put that on our little script guide and say, now it's time, I would like to know if you would like to perform Solidarity. I don't know if that's discussed in this,
yeah.
but I will have to look and
What
see.
happened was the first group of people that got up there because it's illegal to interrupt the federal auction. We already knew that. But, and like the police department said, you had a holding office, a holding cell, whatever it was. He said, I've never seen such a happy bunch of people being arrested.
Well, that's happened with all the civil rights movement. One of the huge parts, and a very important part, is standing up and protesting and fighting for your civil rights, fighting for our hospital, is singing.
Oh, yeah, but
And the songs, Pete Seeger wrote a wonderful
But the
book on
police
all the
department was
songs
nice.
for, you know, standing up. And it is very important. The music is very important as part of that. But
Well,
yes, when people are standing up for what they know is true and what they believe in, of course they're going to be peaceful and happy and like they
yeah.
know it's important.
Yep, and they knew they were going to be arrested, and the police, you know, like I said, they were surprised. Really were. So many people in a holding cell, and they're happy. Couldn't believe it. You know, everybody's just there talking and smiling. You know, and they went to court, and they were told that they couldn't, everything is going to be wiped away if they don't get involved in anything else for 60 days and so on, you know.
I don't think any of us fighting for the North Adams Regional Hospital, I don't think anybody got arrested.
No.
Did that?
No. No. Different situation, different people.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a very, I came from a radical, like I said, you know, organized in Colorado. That was tough. Because, you know, they didn't like, some other people out there, you got a lot of cowboys, you got group immigration. A lot of these people were not happy with the union at that time. But the problem is, the first time we voted for the union, it got voted out. Well, it did because, you know, in reality, I didn't even know they were trying to organize a union. They only talked to a few of the people.
Yep.
Then there's a vote, and you go, who's going to represent us, you know? Second time around, got voted out. Third time around, we got together and we formed the, you know, the basic of getting the union card signed. Nobody could know who signed the union card. You know, once you sign it, it's secret. And we all went to the meeting, and, you know, at least the company fought fair. You know, they fought you face to face. You know, they didn't want the union in. You know, they're going to do things to you in retaliation, but not illegal.
Yeah.
I said, they quality control, most senior, next to the top senior person, and they got rid of everybody.
Well, we know, and we're coming to the end, Mike. I just have to thank you. I'm so grateful. I could talk to you for hours.
we could.
And you and I continue to trade
yes.
stories. I am so grateful for your being here and for all the work that you've done, for your participation, your experience, your dedication, your commitment, and your lifetime commitment to save our hospital. All of that is not to be underestimated.
We've both been there all the way. See, we don't quit when the going gets tough.
No, you don't quit when the going gets tough. That's when you've got to be really resilient and hold on.
Oh, yes.
So, if each one of us pick up one problem and solve it, imagine the incredible view we would all have of solutions rising. Thank you again, Michael Wilbur. I am so grateful to you.
My pleasure.
Power to the people.
Power to the people, as always.
As always.
It is. People are the ones who make it happen.
You bet.
So thank you for having me.
You are very welcome.
Make Maynard sing.